All right, welcome back. It is now 1 April. Happy April Fool's Day. I've got no April Fool's jokes. Fuck you. The joke's on you. Trump's winning. All those little elite fucking billionaire buddies are screwing us in the ass, and there's nothing we can do about it. How you like them apples? That's my April Fool's joke. Anyway, this is number 32 on 1 April Fool's Day. And I'm going to go off the BCCI thing now because I realize it's a rabbit hole. I could really go spend almost all my episodes going down that. And I will go into it with some episodes, but not all of them. So, what I'm going to do is just briefly touch on some stuff I found in the BCCI, and then I'm going to go into the Atlanta Monster podcast. We're going to start from the very beginning and go forward, and I'm just going to destroy everything that's in there. Okay? So, um, in researching the BCCI, I'm going to go into this a lot more in more detail. I found out that, if I can get my screen to go, that BCCI had taken over the National Bank of Georgia, not the National Bank of the country of Georgia, but the National Bank of Georgia. And in those processes of it being, oh, and this is another thing. When I focus on BCCI, I'm going to try to focus on their operations in Georgia, specifically Atlanta, and involved with um, politicians and prominent people in Atlanta, basically bribing them. Okay. And one of those was Andrew Young. Okay. And it says right here, in the early 1980s, Young's consulting firm, Andrew Young Associates, received an annual retainer of $50,000 from BCCI. Now, BCCI didn't start until 1982, okay? And Andrew Young was mayor of Atlanta from 1982 to 1990. So when would the mayor have a private foundation business consulting firm called Andrew Young and Associates that got a retainer for $50,000 from BCCI since they didn't start until 82? So they started in 82 and were shut down in 91. Andrew Young was mayor of Atlanta from 82, I believe, till 1990. So he's mayor, a public elected public official, having a private consulting firm getting $50,000 from the Bank of Crooks and Criminals International. That also ties in with the 1978 campaign donation that Andrew Young got from Michael Thevis. And they did a investigation on that in the Department of Justice under Jimmy Carter and found, oh, there was nothing, no impropriety there at all, that he got a campaign donation. And then he intervened with the Board of Federal Prisons to get Michael Thevis moved to a better medical facility so he could escape. But Andrew Young did resign his congressional seat and became what, ambassador to the UN under Carter. So and the thing is, I really like Andrew Young, civil rights leader, all these things. But what we have to understand is that people are human, and for whatever reason, everybody has a price. Everybody can be bought. And if you can be bought by Michael Thevis, the pornographer, and if you can be bought by the Bank of Crooks and Criminals, who else can you be bought by? And who are you serving? Are you serving the people of Atlanta, or are you serving the criminals. And the thing is, you can actually serve both, and people will think you're great and reelect you, and not know that you're also serving the bank of crooks and criminals. But anyway, that's just me. So I like politicians that are as clean as angels, but you know, I'll probably never, we'll probably never have that because, I mean, uh, you know, an angel for a politician. Well, if he did have an angel for a politician, they would probably kill him. Okay. Anyway, and here's another one with BCCI, and I got this all from that video I was watching about BCCI, the Tangled Web. And then we've got Burt Lance. Okay. And Burt Lance had to resign from the Carter administration for some kind of scandal back then in 1977. And then we see Burt Lance involved with BCCI. Okay. It says that Burt Lance um, was with, yeah, he had prominent shares with First American Bank, which is up in D.C., with Clark Clifford. He also had shares with the National Bank of Georgia, which I think he was a board member. But it says here, it says Burt Lance, and he was a Democrat too, folks. Burt Lance played a critical role in the helping the scandal-ridden BCCI gain a foothold in the U.S. banking system, acting as a prominent American figure. Lance facilitated BCCI's secret acquisition and provided legitimacy to its bank despite regulatory suspicion. So he greased the rails, okay? There's a term in the Arab world that they use in Israel. It's called bakish. And what it means is, you know, it's the grease, you know, on the train track that, or the gears that make things go a little smoother and turn a little faster. Okay, it's called bakish or bakash or whatever it's called. But they use this term in Israel. They got it from the Arabs because that's the way the Arab world works, is through bribery and loyalty through money. Okay, like, you know, when Yasser Arafat takes all the money that the UN and the European Commission and, you know, the Arabs and the Americans give them, and they're supposed to build housing and build schools. Well, they take, you know, 2/3 of that, and they build a little bit of housing, they build a few schools, and the rest of the money they put in their fucking bank accounts in Switzerland, and they create loyalty by trickling the money downward. Okay, so they have loyal cabinet members that they pay very well, buy them a nice house, buy them a nice Mercedes, and then they'll give them money, and then those people will give money to their people down there. It's like an Amway downline, okay? And so this is how it works. Even in America, you know, BCCI is a Pakistani bank, so they're used to bribing officials. That's the way it works in Pakistan because they were in big with the government there and the military and an intelligence service. And that's why the intelligence services use them, okay? They buy weapons for the Afghans. And so they find some prominent official, especially they look for someone who's bribable, who they know already has taken money, or they find out, you know, is diddling little boys and diddling little girls, or has got a drug problem, whatever, and is in a prominent position, and they hire them as a consultant. They give them loans. They give them, you know, like, I forgot to say, I'll go over this later, but Andrew Young got $150,000, besides his $50,000 retainer, he got $150,000 bank loan from BCCI that he never had to pay back. That sounds like bribery to me. And it's the same with Burt Lance. he got a consulting fee. He also got a couple hundred, I think a $500,000 loan that he never had to pay back. They just wrote it off, uncollectible. But we'll get into that. And then, so Sonny Bono, now remember this, okay? But first I'll get into Michael Kennedy. So I remember these two because not that Michael Kennedy had anything to do with BCCI that I know of yet, but I remember this guy because I had gone to Atlanta for like all of December from Portland, and I was visiting friends and family, and I was just spending the holiday, the whole month of December down there. Okay, my wife came down, we toured around Atlanta, I showed her around, and then we went back. Well, she went back on a plane, and I stayed around for a little bit longer to the end of December, and then about December 30th, I got one of these cars. They're called driveaways. So, yeah, you got someone buys a car, has a car, lives someplace, and they want their car delivered to another city. And so they pay driveaway to pay a driver to drive the car, and you get the car for free. You just have to put down a deposit, like $500, and then you pay for the gas, and you can drive the car back to where you want to go. So it works out good for everybody. You know, you get a free car and get to drive it and carry all your shit. Driveway makes money from that, and then the people who hired Driveway get their car delivered. So that's what I did. I left like on the 29th to the 30th of December, and I drove from Atlanta, and I drove straight through this god awful fucking rainstorm. It was flooding all over the place in Louisiana and Texas, and I made it. I was basically stopping at um, rest stops, okay, and I stopped in Dallas and toured around there for a little bit, but it was raining mostly, and then I spent the night in a rest stop on this, you know, these truck stop rest stops, and then the next day I got up and I drove to Arizona, I believe. I made it about Arizona, but I'm listening to the radio along the way, and it's the 31st, and they talk about how Michael Kennedy uh, was goofing around throwing the football while he was skiing up in Aspen, Colorado, and he smashed into a tree. Okay. And that was like, wow, you know, that was crazy. And then I'm almost, you know, I drive Arizona to what? I made it to, hold on one second. Yeah. I made it to Los Angeles, and I fucked around there for about a day or so. And then I made it up to Sacramento, and I fucked around there for about a day or so. And then I made it up to Eugene, fucked around there for about a day or so. And by the time I got back, it was the 5th. Or no, I was in the car, and I got there on the 6th to Portland. But while I was going, I heard another skiing accident. Sonny Bono, who crashed into supposedly a tree and broke his neck while he was skiing up at Lake Tahoe. And I was like, wow, that's wild. I just passed Lake Tahoe. Okay. And then later in 98, I'm listening to the Art Bell show, and I hear him talking about this guy who was a toy maker in Atlanta. He's talking about Delk Road and Terrell Mill Road and Cobb Parkway, and how his little company was right there. And across from him was this strange business. You know, it's like these warehouse businesses. And there was this man um, who started getting interested in him, in his business, okay? And so he came over and he started talking with him. They, you know, started coming over daily. They became buddies. They went to lunch together, you know, all these kinds of things. And then eventually he bought an interest in his toy business. And then, and this is like in the early 90s or maybe late 80s. Yeah, I think it's the late 80s. And eventually, he bought a controlling interest of the business and forced him out of it and took over his own business and threw him out. And then what he found out is that this guy was using it as a front. This is like the mid 80s. It must have been the mid 80s. And as a front for drug smuggling, money laundering, and was involved. And then he sees the guy's name involved in the Iran Contra scandal. And I don't know how you would use a toy business. I guess it was an international toy business or something. I don't know. Maybe they're smuggling drugs in the toys. I can't remember that part. But I do remember him talking about BCCI and how they were involved and how they had an office just right down the road from where he was at. Okay. And we just showed you there. So he was right around where where the Catholic diocese is. Okay. Close to where I had been living. And then how he mentioned that he gave testimony before the committee with Sonny Bono in like, I don't know, must have been 96, 97, because Sonny Bono was only, a congressperson for about 2 years, and then he died. And Sonny Bono was leading the investigation into BCCI and how they're related to the drug smuggling and the CIA and all that kind of stuff and Iran Contra. And then when he died, that investigation died with him. Okay? So that was really interesting. So anyway, we'll get back into that. I'm going to dig some more on that, but now I'm going to get into the Atlanta Monster podcast. And so the thing you want to remember, people always take testimony much more serious than I believe they should, and that legally they should. Okay, because you'll hear some grandmother get up there and cry and this and that, and it's compelling. But witness testimony is at the bottom of reliability. Okay, so at the top, I made a little list here, is physical evidence. So you got like DNA, that's the primo. Okay, but even that can be faked. You put someone else's DNA in, you wear protective gear and all that kind of stuff. You can get the cops going in a different direction. Fingerprints, that's pretty good, but not as reliable as DNA. And then fiber evidence, that's pretty good, but not as reliable as DNA and fingerprints. Okay. And then you got documents. Okay. Like we've been looking at these documents, the incorporation documents. Those are good documents because at the time when they're filing these incorporations, not all the time are they intending to do criminal business. Some are, some aren't. So you get kind of a snapshot of what reality is really like. The real names, the real addresses, the real people involved. Okay? But knowing that criminals know that the government knows all that, they put fronts up. They'll hire some guy, or they'll come along and fund behind somebody who's the front man for them. Okay? And they'll hide in the shadows. They'll be the money, and then they'll hide in the shadows. This is what they're doing with these lawyers, like Hirsch Friedman, like AJ Block, like Ed Garland, because you can rely on these lawyers. For one thing, they're not going anywhere. They got a business. They're there. Second thing, attorney-client privilege. They can never testify anything against you. It's not like you hire some manager or some waitress or whatever, and She's supposed to keep her mouth shut. You threaten her, you bribe her, and she finally turns state witness. Okay? So they can rely on these attorneys. So the documents are pretty good up to a point. Okay? And then you've got like FBI files, police files, but even those, okay, can be doctored. Even those can be biased. You may have the police go out and talk to a witness, and then they come back and they write up their report. Well, they may have their own biases on the reliability of the witness, or they just may be fucking corrupt and may downplay what the witness says, or may not even go collect, may destroy the document. Okay. That's why I don't really like the FBI documents as much and the witness testimony statements as much, because I want to hear the witness on the videotape or the audio tape, or I want to at least read the transcript from a notary, transcriptionist. I don't want to get a rehash from maybe a corrupt policeman or a corrupt FBI agent or a biased FBI agent. Okay. They may not be corrupt. They just may be, I don't believe that shit. Like, didn't we hear the FBI agent in the Atlanta child murders say that he accused one of the, he even came out and said in a documentary I saw that one of the mothers admitted to killing one of the victims on the list. And that never happened. And there he is, FBI agent, making a public statement on a documentary that one of the mothers of one of the victims on the ATKID list admitted to killing her own child because she was a prostitute. Okay? And that never happened. So why would he say that? And then he even says that there was a ligature strangulation rope on the documentary found in the front seat of the passenger seat or the back seat of Wayne Williams' station wagon. But when you look at the inventory written up by the policeman who searched the car, there's no ligature rope like he's talking about. So it's either poor memory or he's trying to insert, something that didn't exist. So even the FBI can either get it wrong or they can purposely say incorrect information. Not all FBIs, not all police. Okay. So you have to put that where it is. And then last is witness testimony. People's memories are crap. My memory is crap. That's why I didn't believe my own memory about the cream-colored car. And did I really see Wayne Williams? Did I really see all this? Until I started putting all the evidence together with the documents and the witness testimony. Okay. And it started confirming what I vaguely remember. Okay. So even my testimony is not always reliable. Is it 100% absolute that my mother was dating and working for Michael Thibas? No. I was 6 to 8 years old. The person she was dating, yeah, from the pictures I've seen of Michael Thibas, yeah, looked like him, and his name was Uncle Mickey, and I think it was that studio, but I can't guarantee that. It could have been another fucking place. It looked like the same place, okay, but it was 50 fucking years ago. So even my memory is not always reliable. Okay? I'm leaning in that direction because my mom worked at Colony Square. Thibas' attorney was at Colony Square. He was up on an upper floor, on the 20th floor. what I remember was way up on the upper floor there, that office. Okay. The Omni International is right across from where Thieves, or kind of diagonally across from where Thieves' office was at. Okay. Fairly certain that was the same guy. I remember sitting in the office playing with the little glass thing. It could have been somebody else, though. Maybe she did work for Thieves, but maybe they weren't dating. But I always remember her holding her arm. Her arm was through his arm while he stood outside the fucking Fox Theater. Okay, I never saw them kissing. I mean, how many of you ever seen your parents having sex? But apparently they must have had sex because you're here, right? You know, A plus B equals C. You. A, your parents. B, them having sex. And C is you. Now, you know A, but you didn't see B. So A plus X equals C. Does X equal B? Probably, but not guaranteed. Your mother could have gone off with the milkman. You could be the son of the milkman, and she never told your dad. Have you looked at the milkman's photos lately? What I'm saying is that even in a court case, you got DNA, at least nowadays, you got DNA, you got fingerprints, you got fiber evidence, you got FBI testimony, you got police testimony, you got clergy testimony, you got media testimony, you got expert laboratory technician testimony, forensic guy testimony. You got documents you can look at. You know, then you got witness testimony, and some of that is 99%, and some of that's about 40%, and the range is right in between. And then you have to have 12 people look at that range and decide, yeah, beyond a reasonable doubt, it's up in the upper 80s, 80%, 90%. That put all that together, the guy's guilty. Okay? I think just with the witness testimony alone, it's a 50, it's 55, 45, 55% Wayne Williams guilty. But when you put with the fiber evidence, with the witness testimony, plus all the other evidence they found, the police slap, burning the photos, all this other stuff, plus what I have found, it's in the upper 90s. Okay? That Wayne Williams did it. Now, just because he did it doesn't mean we know why he did it. Okay? I put out supposition. One, he's just a mean, crazy son of a bitch. Okay? Two, he's just a mean, crazy son of a bitch that hated kids, especially black kids, because he thought they made him look stupid. Three, he's a homosexual, pedophile, thrill-seeking, child-choking murderer. That's three. Four, he did it because there's money involved. Okay? There's child pornography money involved. And attached to that, like 4A, there's snuff film money. Well, we'll say 5. He killed her because of it's snuff money. And then there's 6. He killed them because he heard through the grapevine they were going to tell, or they've been talking about that reward money. And then 7, he was working with other people like Thieves or Jimmy Gin that ordered him to kill them. And he carried that out. And then 8, he was using it to blackmail other people, and they told him to kill the kids so they wouldn't talk, to keep them quiet. So there's about 8, maybe 9, 10 possibilities there, okay, of why he did it. And I don't know which one it is. I'm leaning more towards the child pornography, snuff film angle and working with other people to shut down the kids because they're afraid of talking. And that's why they killed him. That's my largest percentage. But even with that, I'm only at about 65%. Okay. Whereas with he just killed him because he was a mean son of a bitch and hated black kids, I'm at about 30%. Okay. So the range is from 30 to 65. Did he do it? Hell yeah. 90% sure. Why he did it? Who knows? We're in speculation land. Okay. So when you're listening to the Atlanta Monster, this is my whole point. Keep all that in mind. You've got people that saw a snapshot of what was happening. It's like you're in a Corvette and you're 3 feet tall and you can just barely look over the window seal. And crazy Wayne Williams is driving at 100 miles an hour down a curvy street, and he's pointing out this and he's pointing out that, and hey, he's waving at so-and-so as they're driving by at 100 miles an hour. That is a witness. A witness is only seeing a little snapshot, a little slice of what's really going on in this long journey. Okay? Keep that in mind. All right, so here we go. We're going to start from the very, very, very beginning. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
I'm Stephen Rennell, the host of the Meat Eater podcast and the Netflix original series Meat Eater.
So we'll go all the way to right there. Yeah, there we go.
Atlanta, Georgia, 1979. One by one, kids are going missing, with no explanation.
7 of the children have disappeared since March.
A black 13-year-old boy living in a housing project, good in school, a loner, working for extra money, and as of Thursday night, missing.
Are you scared?
Yes, sir.
Altogether, 9 children between the ages of 7 and 14 have disappeared in the last year.
People from outside see this in the context of what's happening to black people across the country.
Missing children have become priority number 1 at APD.
We cannot, as a community, as a city, carry on business as usual.
I want the people of Atlanta and the nation to know that this administration...
Oh, and this, I was thinking about the Epstein thing and how he catered to, white blonde girls, mostly white blonde girls, no Hispanic, no Asian, no African American girls, to a white Judeo, Arabic, Christian, European, Arab, Jewish population. Okay, that was his bailiwick. And remember how I showed you that web yesterday? There are certain groups, they're all at the top connected, okay, loosely. The whole mechanism is for blackmail and control, okay? If you want to get contracts out of these millions of dollars in state, federal, because remember, when you do an airport, you got local money going to it, you got county money going to it, you got state money going to it, and you got a lot of federal dollars going into building that airport. Okay? Same thing with the highways, same thing with MARTA. So there's a lot of money there. And a lot of those decisions are made on the local level. City council members, county supervisors, state legislatures. And what you want to do is you want to cater to those people. And in Atlanta, the nouveau riche were the young black elected officials. Okay? And it has nothing to do with, oh, they're black, so they're more corrupt. No. You go to any fucking city, okay, whether Hispanic, run, Asian run, white run, whatever, you're going to have corrupt people. It's in every segment. And see what these billionaires, these Epstein billionaires like to do is to separate us by race and say, oh, you know, it's all the blacks bringing in the drugs, or oh, it's the Venezuelans, it's those South American, the brown skinned people. They're all criminals. They're not bringing their best and brightest. They're eating the dogs and the cats. You see what I'm saying? So you create this fear, it separates us. So as long as we're separate, okay, we're in fear of each other. And you see it physically play out in Atlanta, North and South Atlanta, okay? We're easier to control because as long as I'm fearing you and you're fearing me, we're not worried about the guy, the billionaires at the top, stealing our money. They're actually rallying us, okay? You got one Republican billionaire, one Democratic billionaire, one white billionaire, one black billionaire, and they're rallying their troops. You can't trust those guys because they're drug dealers, murderers, rapists. They're coming for your children. They're coming for your cats. So you keep them in fear so they have loyalty to that guy. And just like with Trump, as corrupt as he is, that it doesn't matter how many kids or little girls he raped. It doesn't matter how many babies he killed or ate. They're going to be loyal to him in the MAGA because what's the alternative? A bunch of trans, alien, foreigner, brown, black skin Democrat supporters, right? So that's how you keep loyalty. And they're doing it here. They're servicing the people that are the new people in power. The African Americans, the Andrew Youngs, all those people. Burt Lance was white, right? He looked mixed to me. I'm not sure, but they're okay. Look, it's not racist, okay, to say that black people can be just as corrupt, black politicians can be just as corrupt as white politicians and Hispanic politicians. There's always going to be a certain percentage of everyone that are criminals and corrupt, and there's going to be good people, there's going to be bad people. It's just the way it is. But what they do, okay, these multimillionaire billionaires, they play us against each other and say, oh, it's just the black people. Oh, it's just the white people. All that. Okay? But what I think what was going on with Wayne Williams is that he was one go-getter. Okay? He wasn't the only one, but he was one that was going after little boys. And you got politicians that want little boys, little black boys, okay? And he's there to service that need, okay? As sick as it is, that's what it is. He's servicing that need because they want to control those people so they can control the money. It's all about the money, okay? Whether they're black or they're white or they're Hispanic or they're Asian, it doesn't matter. The money is all green. It's all the same. It's around the world. It happens in Israel, okay? So let's not get caught up in this racial thing. Oh, you're just attacking them because they're black politicians. And yeah, they may have been involved in the civil rights movement, and that's great. But a crooked politician or a crooked cop is a crooked politician or a crooked cop, no matter what race or color their skin is, okay? We got to get past this part. Anyway, here we go.
Is totally colorblind.
From the producers of Up and Vanished and How Stuff Works, we present an all-new podcast, Atlanta Monster.
All right.
On September 14th, 1980, Darron Glass went missing.
Darron Glass, age 10, height 57 inches, weight 75 pounds.
Darron is an orphan and has a history of running away. He's done it twice before and told some playmates last Sunday that he was going to do it again.
That day, Darron left his foster home along Memorial Drive to go watch the Atlanta Braves.
He plays over there all the time with a bunch of the little friends, so he's really just hiding.
Are you worried about him?
Sure is.
But you just think he's going to eventually come
home?
home?
He's going to show up. Yes, he is. He's going to show up.
What concerns us is the fact that this child has been missing 5 days.
He was seen getting off the church bus after the game ended.
So far, police haven't news at all, but they say this case is now top priority.
We're trying to find any information concerning his whereabouts or where he possibly may be at this point. We feel that it's still very possible that Darron Glass could be alive, safe and well at some place.
It was assumed Darron had gone outside to play for the rest of the day, but he never returned home.
Today, the searches took the form of a canvass here in Darron's old neighborhood, where searchers went door to door, seeking out Darron's old friends who might be able to offer some new information.
And you represent a parallel story. One story is the tragedy that is afflicting our children. And the other story is your response in this time of adversity.
And you don't think he's been kidnapped?
I sure know he left on his own.
You think he left
on his own because he wanted to leave.
So, have you communicated this to the police and all the other agents?
I told him he left because he wanted to go, and that's it. And I'm tired of the whole damn situation.
You think people are making too much?
They are making too big an issue over one thing when they ought to be out doing the damn nothing.
Today marks the 7th month that we've been conducting these searches, and I think it has taken a lot of wear and tear out of a lot of people.
Publicity about the 10-year-old boy and the widespread use of his picture did not help investigators. By Sunday, they were finding a lot of people who thought they saw him.
I'm satisfied that they have seen someone that obviously looks a tremendous amount like Darron does. Whether or not it's Darron, I can't say. We can't say, and we're not really prepared to make a judgment on that yet.
They combed the woods, sifted through debris, and bagged what they thought might be evidence. But slowly, as the searchers found nothing, interest dwindled, and the throng thinned to just a few. Now the search is at an end.
Lone victim that has never been found is Darron Glass.
Never found.
Never found.
To this day.
To this day.
Atlanta Monster, coming January 5th.
All right, so I'm going to just, from my memory, okay, I'm just going to recount what I know about Darron Glass, okay? So, how did Darron Glass get on the list, okay? So let me back up. So Darron Glass went to a church baseball game, okay? He got off the bus a couple of blocks away from his home, and he walked home, and that's the last anyone saw him except for his foster mother, okay? He came inside, he changed clothes, and then he went outside, and he wasn't seen after that. Now, there was a witness who said at first in Memorial, he saw a man driving a blue station wagon a blue car, pull into this lot, empty lot. And I've shown you the empty lot. It's literally 2 blocks away from where his foster mother's living, and got out of the car and was dragging this kid about Darron Glass's age, I think 8 or 9, into the woods. He heard a shot, and then The guy emerged back out, was carrying the limp body of the same child, went to a trunk, put the kid in the trunk, got in the car and drove off. And Darren Glass was never found after that. Okay? I'm pretty sure that was Darren Glass. There's another witness, a female witness, that saw exactly the same thing. Okay? This witness wasn't believed, and the other female witness didn't go to the police. She went to Detlinger, Chet Detlinger, later. But this witness wasn't believed because he was accused of rape, and I think even sent to prison on rape. Okay? So, and Darren Glass disappeared. They never found a body. So why is Darren Glass on the list? Okay? They found the other bodies and put them on the list. Okay? There were plenty of other children disappearing and never seen again, or bodies found but weren't put on the list. So what makes Darren Glass so special? Okay? Well, Jim Peterson, the fiber guy for the GBI, said that they went to Darren Glass's house when he disappeared. They went through his clothing, not the clothes that he wore that day. Well, they went through those clothes, but they went through clothes he had worn a couple of days before. They went through all of them. But on clothes that he wore a couple of days before, they found the violet acetate cotton fibers. No, not cotton, but fibers that matched the same fibers on Wayne Williams' bed, and thus he was put on the list. It was the violet acetate fibers that got you on the list, not just the green carpet, not just the dog hair. It was the violet acetate fibers that got you on the list. Okay? And then the Supreme Court of Georgia, that's all they mention is those fibers in reference to the case. Now, any child that got killed that didn't have the violet acetate fibers or the green carpet fibers or the dog hairs didn't get on the list. Okay? Another interesting thing I read is there was a counselor, I think in DeKalb County, a family counselor that was handling Darren's case. Okay? And he said there was an aunt that wanted to adopt Darren, if I'm trying to remember this correctly. And she was calling and calling and calling before he disappeared and after he disappeared. Okay? And he thought maybe she had kidnapped him. But after he disappeared, she called and said that she had received calls from him. Okay? And that he sounded or had received calls and she believed it was him. She had heard noises on the phone and then the phone hung up. And so he didn't know what to make of this. And the police didn't know what to make of it. Okay? So to me, that goes along with, you remember how I went over and talked about skeletalization and putrefaction and how, like in the case of Earl Terrell, his body had just started to putrefy. It hadn't skeletalized when they found his body in January. That means he'd only been dead for less than a month, because skeletalization takes about 4 to 6 weeks. Okay? 4 weeks in the summer, 6 weeks in the winter. That's when the flesh comes off the bone. Okay? But Earl Terrell still had flesh on the bone. And I saw him, and he disappeared at the end of July. So what happened with that? So from those suppositions and other people like Yusuf Bell, who they found 6 weeks later, but his body was still intact, and there was no way he was dead in that cubbyhole in the elementary school for 6 weeks, or his body would have deteriorated. It was just beginning to putrefy, like the body had been placed there the day or so before. Now, either the killer kept the children's body on ice, and there's no indication of that, or he had them alive someplace. And then I went over all that's involved with that. Well, if you're keeping someone alive, you're going to have them chained up. There's no chain, there's no, handcuff markings or scrapes on the wrists of the children or the feet of the children. There's no residue of duct tape over the face. Okay? They obviously had to be eating, right? Maybe even someone gave them a haircut because their hair was the same as when they left. Don't you think a 10-year-old hair would grow from July to December? Someone was taking care of them, feeding them, bathing them, brushing their teeth or letting them brush their teeth. You got to go to the bathroom, right? Their rear ends weren't soiled with excrement. So what's going on there? So it's my belief that Darron was still alive for a long time, along with all the other kids. And he may even be alive today. I doubt he's alive today because he would have come out and said something. Okay? But again, it's my supposition that Wayne was a small cog in a huge puzzle, that he only knew his part. He was the go-getter. He was getting the kids. He was acquiring the kids with this false Gemini music group thing. They're paying him money to recruit the kids. He was grooming the kids. And then it was a selection process where he eventually got them into having sex with him or getting naked, having sex with him and getting filmed and making money from that. That was a selection process. That was what was going on. That's my supposition. And then eventually, for whatever reason, he starts killing some of them. Maybe he liked them. Maybe he liked killing. It's just a power thing. Maybe he heard, I lean toward more he heard they were going to tell, or that, that reward money was getting pretty damn good, up to $500,000. You can figure if it's $500,000 in 1981, it's probably worth $5 million now. It's a lot of money. Didn't Patrick Baltazar tell his stepmother, I'm going to get that reward money. I'm going to find out who that killer is. Maybe that was the reason he got killed. Oh, Wayne, I'm trying to find the killer, and I'm going to get that reward money. I think I know who it is. While he's chatting with Wayne at the Omni International Game Room, where I used to go play in the same fucking game room, while my mom was running around doing security. So Darron Glass is gone. And like I said, Atlanta is an international airport. People fly in, people fly out. I doubt very much that Wayne would put a missing kid on an airplane. But I was 15 in 1981 and got on a plane by myself with my little learner's permit and flew on a plane by myself to Miami. So maybe someone made him a fake ID. But a 10-year-old? Maybe someone made Darron Glass a fake papers, birth certificate, and then maybe Wayne, maybe some groomer got on the plane with him, or they could have just simply drove him. They could have drove him to Chicago, drove him to New York. It takes 24 hours to drive to New York? 18 hours? Drive him to Miami, put him in a safe house there, no one would ever find him. after Jeffrey Epstein got arrested, there's an FBI memo in the Epstein files that shows that receipts for Jeffrey Epstein, like the day after he gets arrested and charged and he's let out on bail, he orders like 50 drums of this like sulfuric acid or whatever, some kind of acid that's you can use that to dissolve bodies. Okay. I personally think that Wayne, again, if you hate kids and just trying to get rid of them, why not just kill them and bury their bodies in the woods so no one will find them with any fiber evidence or nothing? He liked the fear. That's why he put the bodies out there, so they would find them. He didn't want to find them too intact, but he definitely wanted to find them. Okay? He wanted the fear. He liked the fear, but he didn't want to be associated with it. Okay? Anyway. All right, so we got 4 minutes. We're going to go into the next one, and then we will stop. All right.
For the next 8 weeks, Blue Apron is teaming up with Whole30. Their menu will feature 2 Whole30 approved recipes each week, like Mexican spiced barramundi with avocado and kale and sweet potato salad. Blue Apron delivers fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and step-by-step recipes that can all be cooked in under 45 minutes. And it's all designed by Blue Apron's in-house culinary team. And right now, Blue Apron is treating Atlanta Monster listeners to their first 3 meals, a $30 value, with your first order if you visit blueapron.com/Atlanta. So check out this week's menu and get $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Atlanta.
Atlanta Monster's
Again,
getting
that's
free
blueapron.com/Atlanta.
advertisement on
Blue
my
Apron,
YouTube site.
a better way to cook.
And that time, man, was just so. Just to think back, like everybody was scared. It was always be careful, everywhere y'all go in groups. You know what I'm saying? It was like everybody was scared, and definitely the people from where we grew up, round from where we from, everybody over there was scared because that's where they was getting the kids from. It was crazy, man. Like that time was like the boogeyman.
Careful, because it's literally somebody.
And I'll end right there. So again, whoever was doing this, if they were directing Wayne, they're on higher levels than we are, folks. Higher psychological levels, because this created fear, not only in the black community, but in the white community. Here I'm this white kid down in College Park, walking home from North Clayton High School down Norman Drive, and someone would drive by and honk their horn, and I was scared, and we would run. Okay, and Coach Thompson would be out there screaming on his bullhorn, "I'm gonna get you," at the kids honking their horns at us. We were all scared. It was a psychological operation. It not only had people in fear in Atlanta, in the black community, in the white community, but all across the country. Okay? That's a brilliant, fucking complicated application of psychological warfare that doesn't just come from some fucking 20-year-old like little pudgy Wayne Williams. All right, that's it. We'll stop here, and I'm going to go into another topic, and we're going to just keep going through the rounds and just keep hammering it now. Okay? All right, take care. Bye-bye.